also need to find friends who are going through the same things I'm going through in life. And I think one of the reasons why people drift apart is probably because of the changes.
Hello, and welcome to the Magnetica podcast. This is a podcast by two 20-something friends, Kim and Phyll. We catch whatever life throws at us and try to make sense of it by sharing our thoughts and opinions. Magnetica will be full of great moments, so many oops, ifs, laughters, and tears of maneuvering life as young African women. If you want to have a great time and share in our experiment, tag along. Let's journey on together.
Hi guys, my name is Miss Phyll. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Magnetica podcast. This is going to be a very interesting topic of conversation. And of course, I will not be talking by myself. I'm joined by the beautiful co-host, Kim. Kim, how's your week been? How you doing?
Doing well. My week has been fantastic. The sun has been out, looking very yellow and beautiful. Yeah, it's been a great week. Tried new things. Some things have delayed that I was planning to, but I'm not bummed. I'll get to do them next week. So my week has been great in a nutshell. How has your week been?
My week has been good, quite busy, but amazing. And I also love the fact that the sun is finally out. I enjoy the sun. I am definitely a summer girl, and I have been loving doing afternoon 30 minutes walk by myself every single day. Either I'm listening to music, I'm listening to a podcast on the background, just meditating, reflecting, enjoying nature. And I decided since last week to be something that I embrace often, taking walks by myself. I just used to hear people say, yeah, you can take a walk by yourself. It's refreshing. And I think it is. I thought it was overrated, but it really is. And the fact that I enjoy the sun hitting my skin, it's been nice. And getting to wear spag tops. Manze, thank you, Jesus, for this sun, finally. Yeah.
That's very interesting. The simple things in life are the most enjoyable. We roll our eyes at them and then you do them and you're thinking, this is amazing. So I'm glad you're getting to experience that. So we'll just jump in to this episode's topic, which is a fine one. And it's how we grow apart from the people we were raised with together. So that could be your siblings, could be cousins, for those who grew up with their cousins, and so on and so forth. Just the people who are around you in childhood, and then suddenly in adulthood, you're very different people and you've grown apart. So, Miss Phyll, have you experienced that with the people you grew up with, growing apart and then realizing, oh my gosh, things are not the same?
I have experienced that. I have honestly experienced that. As you were talking, the first people that came to my mind were obviously my friends. And I was quickly like just counting how many childhood friends of mine do we still keep in touch? Even if we don't talk every other day, do we still keep in touch? Top of my mind is one very, very amazing person in my life. She's called Katie. Katie, we were, is it called baby class? Classmates. Yes, we were classmates all the way from kindergarten until some point in primary. Then I went to a different school, and then we linked up in the university. So assuming we didn't go to the same university, probably we would not still be in touch because we don't talk as much, but we are still close friends. My family, oh no, I lost my favorite cousin, and it's because he left the country. And I think he's the cousin I was connected to the most. Like we had a vibe together. He was just like that big brother of mine. And then when he left, we were just communicating, and then at some point, life gets busy. I'm in a different transition, he's in a different transition, timelines, every single thing. So we kind of lost touch, and we've never been able to regain that touch. However, when he comes back to Kenya, he always makes a point of seeing me. But sadly, one of the closest cousins I lost. The other cousins I completely lost along the way. I don't know how. Maybe as we go on in the conversation, we'll be able to discover. When I was a child, I had so many friends, and I kind of lost most of my childhood friends because of the post-election violence, because so many people moved, changed schools. So there was the whole of that dynamic. Yeah.
That's interesting. So just going back to your cousin, did it hit you at one moment that, oh my gosh, things are not the same anymore? Or did they just flow and you went with it and it didn't really properly hit you?
It actually didn't properly hit me until one time when life throws you those, dark moments, or rather difficult moments, and then you're thinking, who can I reach out to? Who can I talk to? And then at that particular time is when it hit me. If he was around, he would probably help me to navigate this situation better. And actually, the fact that I lost touch, or he left, made me kind of also learn how to just handle my own things and fight for my own things, because unfortunately I wasn't as close with my other cousins. And sometimes you just need that. I don't know, we were just tight. It didn't hit me in one particular moment, it hit me during that time, whether it was a good time, because the last good memory I have, it was during my visiting day in high school, and he came in the country, and he made sure that he came. And the funny thing is, when he came to visit me, he didn't come alone, he came with almost all the other cousins that lived close by the school I was studying at that particular time. So in that moment is when it hit me that, yeah, our bond was tight, because you can imagine he just came back, and then he still has time within his busy schedule to come and see you. And it was sort of like a refreshing moment. And then I go to campus, and in campus you face a lot of things, and that is when it actually hit me. If he was here, he would have helped me to be able to navigate some of the stuff that I was going through, because he was an older cousin of mine. So he had already gone through the teenage foods, the early youthful days when you're in campus, and so many other things. So it didn't hit me in one sitting. It hit me when I was going through different things in life, and you realize, oh, well, I don't have a big brother anymore. This is so sad. Yeah. What about you? Is there anyone close in particular that you lost? Or it could be even be a friend. I don't know.
Well, friends, yes, for sure. So some of the friends I had in primary school, immediately I went to high school, we all went our separate ways. So I see some of them occasionally. I can see them maybe at the bus stop, but we never really get to engage at that level anymore. So it's like those days are gone, but I don't feel sad about it because those days are truly gone. So that's one. And then the friends I had in high school, same thing happened. I just went to campus, they went to campus, everyone went their different ways. So some that went to the same campus ended up forming really deep relationships. I went my own way and lost touch. And we tried to have some meetups after, but still they were not enough. So I'd say I also grew apart from those ones. But the friends I made in campus, I don't know why it was easier for me to keep in touch with those friends after campus because I still have them on my contact list. We still chat every now and then. And some of them, they're really close, just as we were close. Maybe not chatting up all the time like we used to, but they're still my really good friends. Cousins, when growing up, we grew apart really quick. I think when we joined high school, and then after high school, there's some who went on to get diplomas, others went on to get degrees, others went on to get jobs, others became moms and dads, and things just changed completely. So I don't know when I realized things changed exactly. Or maybe it's during Christmas, one of those Christmases when you decide, you know what, everyone, let's just go to Ushago for once. Let's just all go to Ushago. We never get to meet anyway. And if we don't go, we'll just grow apart even further. And then you get there and you realize, wow, our lives are so different. They're so, so different. And you go home just thinking, yeah, it's different. It's no longer the same. Those childhood stories become memories now. You can't go back there, no matter how much you want to. And that said, do you feel a sense of grief when you think about the people you've grown apart from?
I do. I really do. Actually, when the more you talk about it, the more I start getting names and faces, and I'm like, we were close. What happened? We were close. What happened? Oh my God, we were tight. And let me tell you this. Um, Two of my closest friends that I actually lost. I lost them because of the fact that they got married. And this was so sad for me, Kim, because I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it. Like, we were all single, we were all enjoying life. And then the first one got married when I was in campus, third year. She got married, and then we were left, the two of us. And it was very hard for me. And for a particular time, I was lonely. Like, I was really lonely. And I didn't quite get the reason why they don't want to hang out with me. I didn't understand the dynamic of our relationship had changed because of the new relationships they had in their lives. And that's the sad part, that you want to relate with your friends on the same level, and you don't realize that their life has changed. So for me, I'm like, I want to do the same things we used to do, but for them, maybe they're like, yeah, I still want to do them, but I can't be able to do them the way we did it. We have to sort of like be more intentional and make more effort in planning and aligning our schedules and everything. And it was hard for me. I was quite lonely for a long time. And looking back is when now it hits me. The reason why is because they got married and they got children. And here I am, still single. So it was so hard for me. But that's the time I also realized, like, I also need to find my tribe. I also need to find friends who are going through the same things I'm going through in life. And I think one of the reasons why people drift apart is probably because of the changes. You've asked a very good question. How come I'm still tied to the friends we went to college with? And I think, when you're in college is when you are sort of like maturing up. When we're in high school, we're just teenagers. But when you go to college is when it's the early 20s, really. I think by the time someone is finished, they're either 21 or 22. Okay, if you went to school early like I did. So that's the time where you are getting to know yourself. And remember, this time you're knowing yourself outside your parents, like outside the comfort of your home. So you're also discovering so many other new things. You're meeting new people, and you kind of realize, oh yeah, Kim and I have the same values. We actually enjoy the same kind of hobbies, or maybe we think the same. We have the same perspective towards life. So we tend to grow together with our friends because at that particular time, I think for me is when we're really getting to know who we are, or we are forming ourselves without the confines of the families and everything. I think that's the reason why so many people, the friends or the people they meet in college, they still in some way get to keep in touch even after school. That's what I think. But this other times, it's just sad. And for me, I think I've also realized that so many relationships fall apart when people get married. I do not know why. Married friends, don't you want to hang out with us anymore?
That's funny. Honestly.
No, actually, it is true. I don't know. Do
But
you
it's
do you
true.
have do you have friends you grew up with? Probably they were older than you by like 3 years or 2 years, or maybe let's say 4 years. But either you went to the same church or you are in the same, what are these things you used to do? You are in the scouting group, you are in these extracurricular activities together. And then obviously there's one person who's always gonna get married in the earlier years. Me, imagine I've noticed in my life. I have noticed, especially with those two friends of mine whom we were really close with when we were young, like since we were kids. And then when they got married, we're like, oh, okay, yeah. It's sad. Please, Kim, when you get married, don't leave me. Don't leave me.
Okay, Miss Phil, I cannot promise you that when I get married, I won't disconnect from you because I don't know what happens when people are in marriage and why they don't keep in touch. I cannot speak from something I've never experienced. So let's just wait and see what happens. And you might actually go before me. So that goes to you as well.
That is the biggest joke of the year. Anywho, I think I know why. You know why?
No, tell me, because I have no idea.
This is what I think. Now you found someone new. You want to get to know them better. Of course, this is the person that you want to build a life with, and you're there. This is my best friend. This is my what? Excuse me. And then you forget us. You were there before they even came along. Married folks, by the way, me, all my married friends, this is personal, but Nisawa too. It's okay. It's okay. We're still alive. Kim,
She's still
you have
breathing.
already threatened. But honestly, I think it's not nice. It's not nice that when you get married, you abandon your friends. It's not nice.
Yeah, they should
Okay,
tell
I'm being
us what
dramatic.
goes
Let's
on.
continue.
They should tell us what goes on. Or maybe we should just wait and see what happens. I have two married people or people who are living with the boyfriends and girlfriends, and I've managed to keep in touch with one. I'm not sure why. I should ask her,
Do you
what's
see each
your
other
secret?
often? Do
We
you see
when
each
we
other
pl
often?
No, but even before we were not seeing each other often. We used to chat a lot, and we still do chat a lot when we want to. So it doesn't feel like a lot has changed. I have another one who got married when we were in campus, and we're still in touch. And I know how she's very intentional about it. She just makes sure she has a life outside her home, basically. So when we have a meetup, she shows up and she's not rushing to go anywhere. She plans it out such that if it's time to meet up with a bunch of friends, it's time to meet up with a bunch of friends. And she's always the first one to suggest that we go out, we go have a party and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, I want to sleep, and she's the one who has a child. So I don't know. I think we have a mix of experiences. So I think it's
Yeah,
doable. Yeah.
I think it's doable, and I think we should have a married friend come here and tell us why. Or maybe, yeah, as you said, we don't know what happens in a marriage setup. Both you and I, we've never been married. So they could also explain to us the dynamics, because someone like me, I took it very personal from those two friends of mine. But okay, later on we talked about it and I got to understand it's a new thing. They're also trying to figure it out. I should have been more understanding. But for me, I was just angry and I cut them off. I was like, okay, if anytime I'm suggesting things and you can't show up, bruv, I've gotten my cue. I'm out.
I'm out and I'm looking for other single people to hang out with. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Speaking of anger and taking
Mm-hmm.
it personally, do you accept the people they are growing into? I think you've already partly answered that, but that's for the married people. So what about, let's say you went to campus with someone and the thing you were bonding about was your career choices. And then now they've decided to go into IT and you don't care about IT. And you're thinking that is the biggest mistake of your life because you spent 4 years learning this thing and now you have to go and learn this other thing afresh. Do you accept the people they're growing into? Or maybe this is very interesting because I see it happen. Maybe you guys grew up in a Presbyterian church or Catholic church, and then they decide they want to go and join Prophet Owur. Do you accept that and continue building the relationship, or do you grow apart and say, hey, no, they're taking a direction I don't like?
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's a very difficult question. So let me start with the people who maybe chose different career paths. And of course, maybe our relationship was the fact that we went to the same class and, we had same problems and same goals at that particular time to finish school and finish, well, graduate. I think I have allowed my friends to do whatever they want and to have what is it called? To allow them to experiment with what they like. Because I am looking at my own life and I have also drifted apart from some people because of the choices that I made. And at a very personal level, I'm an experimentative person. I like to take risks. I like to experiment. I like to do new stuff. It excites me. And I have felt that if you met me when I was in high school and now, you'll be shocked. Like there's such a huge transformation. And if you met me when I was in campus and now, there's also a transformation. And I'll say it because some people ask me, I don't even believe it's you having a podcast and you're talking to people. I'm like, what? Okay. But they're like, you're doing well. We like it. It just came as a shock to them. So putting my friends in the same shoes, I have allowed my friends, and especially like the friends of mine who are very close, I have allowed them to experiment. And Kim, you're also a very good example. In your life, you are also someone who likes taking new chances. I only recently discovered when we finished school that you are interested in business and your background was in chemist. I have accepted you. I will support you in whatever way I can. So I think for me, at a personal level, I allow my friends to do whatever they want. If they wake up tomorrow and decide, you know what, me, I'm not feeling this thing I've been doing. I want to experiment something else. I'm like, yeah, go for it. I'm here to support you. As long as you've sat down, you've thought about it, and you're also willing to, put in what is needed, show up for that, what you want to do. I have accepted. However, it comes with a lot of understanding. Like you really have to understand. And I think for me, the reason why I understand is because I have walked in the same shoes. So I kind of know how it feels to jump into something new that you had no idea you're going to do, and why the support is very important and how lonely it feels when people don't support you. I think when it comes to our older siblings, our parents, our older cousins, people who saw us growing up and they already had an idea of who we were going to become, or they already put us in a certain category or box, sorry to say, they are the people who find it so difficult to accept. I've personally faced this because, lack of a better word, I'd say I'm a black sheep. I have followed a path that no one in my family has followed. I have done so many things that I haven't seen anyone really do. I'm like the first one to do them. So those are the kind of people, if they don't take time to understand where you're going with this, even if like you change your values or your personality just changes. I was a very, very quiet child. Okay, I'm still like a quiet person. Only that the career I do, I'm now bubblier, and my personality has actually morphed into different things. And it comes off as a shock to so many people, especially people who knew me early days. And I feel some form of judgment from them. So having gone through that, for my friends, I've allowed them to do whatever they want, to be whatever they want. When it comes to the question of church, values, personality, changing who you are, the one thing I've realized is it's very unfair for you to remain the same person that you were. You need to grow. You need to become a different person. And for me, life is exciting when I'm going through changes, however tough they are, because I discover sides of myself. So if a friend of mine decides, you know what, by the way, let's even be radical and say they're not a Christian anymore and they become a Muslim. Hell no, I won't judge you. I'll still accept you. Of course, I will not go into the depth of why are you doing this, whatever. I will just be like, that's what you've decided. Good. Let's go with it. And when we are in our 20s, it's the time to experiment. We're still figuring ourselves out. So for me, I think this would be a very good question to ask someone like my mom, to ask like my older cousins. Why was it so hard for you to let go of the person you thought I was or the person I was and not to accept? I think for my friends, it's been so easy for me to accept the people they've become, and also to kind of accept that if you go into a different career that is not what I'm doing, we might not relate on career levels. However, if our friendship was based on career, it will die. It's okay. If our friendship was based on so many other things, it's gonna grow still. So for me, I'm 100% supporting you. If today you decide you're changing genders, I'll support you because I ain't changing mine.
Hey, utatrigger watu wewe.
Do you.
I completely agree. I think the people that are least accepting of change are family members, also in my experience, because they have this view of you growing up. They still see you as that person in your diapers, or just generally people who have watched you grow up. I think that the least, and it makes growing apart harder. Because I think growing apart is just transitioning from one thing to the next, the next, the next. It makes it harder because you start wondering, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right track? What if I disappoint this person? And then 5 years later, you ask yourself, why was I so worried? They don't even remember. They don't even care. They're busy worrying about their own business. And if I was so afraid to do something different, and maybe I didn't do it at the time because I was afraid, or did it much, much later than I would have, then I start asking myself, why did I start earlier? What was I so worried about? They are now encouraging me. All that was for nothing. And maybe from their point of view, because I think we've also not accommodated other people every once in a while. And now, looking back, you're thinking, why was I so hard on this person? At the end of the day, they made this decision, they moved on, and they're doing well. And if they're not doing well, they moved on to something else, courtesy of learning about that thing. It still played a role. So why was I so hard on this person? So I think that's basically it, which is just reflecting on what you just said. So if we are growing apart, which is for sure we're just going to grow apart in our different relationships. And I think usually the hardest part is to see someone embracing different values from the ones you have or from the ones you were brought up with, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, you're headed in the wrong direction. I've literally been told that you're making a mistake. And I'm thinking, the last time I listened to you, I regretted it. Not because it was bad advice, but because that desire to do whatever it is I wanted to do has never left me, and I still want to do it. So I should have just done it anyway. I should have done it earlier rather than being so miserable. Does If you spot that someone is embracing different values than I am, then if it's a friend or a family member or a cousin that's a family member, does this mean that now you have to relate differently? Do you think that's what it means, Phil?
Hmm, that's another difficult question. I think it means you have to relate differently because you have to accept, like, sadly, you have to accept that they no longer share the same values that I do. They no longer ascribe to what I imagined they would be or they would become. You have to really accept. And I'm talking about it from a family level. It's not even friendship, from a family level. Because what I've also realized from my own observation of families is siblings are not the same. Children are not the same. They are so different. And wanting you to be like your sibling is going to be so hard. Like you're being unjust to yourself. And that's something that I think I've also personally gone through, that I can be like my sister. I'm me. And I have to accept that, okay, yeah, I am me. And I have to accept that my sister doesn't think like I do, or we don't share values on some things or same perspective. And I have to accept it. It's just life. And the reality is, especially when the age gap is like quite huge, it means that also our experiences are different. So it means that probably at the particular time when she was experiencing whatever she experienced or he experienced, and I'm going through the same thing, my personal experience is going to be different from them. And based on how we navigated that, then it shapes us, the people that we become and the values that we get. And I think it's an unfortunate thing because, I mean, we all like knowing who we are. We all like familiarity. I mean, I don't want to wake up tomorrow and then Kim comes with a surprise, and then I have to accept and go through the whole process of accepting my friend is changing and whatever. It could even take 2 years of just growing apart. I have a friend of mine. I started working immediately after school. She went back to school immediately. And I'm telling you, those 2 years, the experiences that we had completely made us become different people. It was such a shock, but we had both to sit down and accept. And it was so hard. And I think the best thing you can do is, if you still want this person in your life, you have to accept. And we can't do away with family. So I think the best thing you can do is to accept, and maybe just hope and pray they're making the right choice. But sometimes when you're really stubborn and you want to do something, just let that person do it and learn by their own that, okay, sometimes there's some fulfillment that comes knowing that I tried and it failed, or I tried and it worked. Oh yeah, I think the best you can do for me is just to accept. And it's not easy accepting, especially when, I mean, as I said earlier, familiar is so, 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 so easy. It's so easy to deal with something you're familiar with than to deal with a new thing. It's hard because you have to relearn. And I think in the family dynamic, it's the hardest. Yeah.
100%. I think also the fear of what does this mean? So you're this new different thing, you made this one decision that changes so many things. What does this mean for our relationship? What does this leave me? You know, I've not changed my mind. I'm still the same person. And then here you are telling me that you're changing the course of your life completely. So I think there's usually, if you've experienced that, a family member or a friend, a very, very close one, coming to you and telling you, I'm moving, or I've discovered this about myself, and because of ABCD, I'm making this drastic change in my life. First, you get really shocked. And then you feel betrayed because you feel like, wow, did you really think about all the people in your life that this will affect and how it will affect them? And are you asking me to change as well, or are you expecting me to just, I don't know, welcome you with open arms and tell you everything is going to be okay and let's move on like like nothing happened? I think you've made a really good point that if you need to take time to just reflect and take in whatever change is happening between you and a family member or a friend, just take the time. That has actually happened to me, and it's taken me about 3 to 4 years. That's a long time, now that I think about it. I think it's because it happened to me when I was fairly young in campus. So it was something very shocking that happened from a friend. And I remember thinking to myself, well, how long have you known that you're going to make this sudden different decision in your life? Of course, to me, it was sudden. To them, it was not, because obviously they'd been thinking about it for a long time. And why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you prepare me? So the whole time we were talking, you knew and you didn't say. So it took a while. But the good thing is that they gave me my space. And eventually we reconnected and we're rebuilding. And it feels the same, to be honest. Not the same as, but the feeling is the same. Like, this is my friend. This is, yeah, someone that I care about, that cares about me, and I just want to see them succeed. So I really like that point about taking your time. So I think taking your time helps you not throw a tantrum and do something stupid that will now burn that bridge completely, and helps you reflect. So maybe it's true, time does heal everything, I think. Because when you think about it, you're thinking, it's not a big deal. It's, I won't die. I can live with this thing and everything will be fine. And then you become more empathetic towards the other person. But then how do you start to relate differently? Let's say you've grown apart with this person. How do you reconnect? Do you text them out of nowhere? How do you start the conversation? Have you been in that situation where you had to now reconnect with someone who you grew apart with? I know most people we grew apart with, we're not reconnecting in that on that level again. It's done, it's gone, and it's okay. But then there are people who you just occasionally think about and you wonder, wow, what happened to that person? I'd like to hear from that person. Where do you start? How do you start? Have you been in that situation?
I've been in that situation. The easiest thing to do is, yeah, just text them. And I think a text is easier than a phone call because you just feel like, hey, it's been a long time. Where did you go? How's your life? That's exactly how I'd say it.
It takes out
I mean,
they can't see your face. If you're afraid of rejection, at least the text they
and
it's
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, the thing could be, let's use ourselves as an example. Let's say, Kim, you left the country and you went to where? Um, where do you want to go? And you went to the States, right? And life happens and we don't keep in touch, blah, 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 blah. And then one day I'm like, you know what? I had a friend. Let me reach out to her. The thing is, from my end, I don't know how receptive you're going to be, right? And I think that's what scares us the most. We don't know if the other person is going to be receptive. We don't know if they've moved on with their lives. We don't know if they want you back or not. We really don't know. So I think it could be a simple thing as just trying to text them. And if they reach out, well and good. If they want to actually meet in person, even better. I think now when you meet up is when you'd be like, you have changed. Imagine I meet you and then I realize either you change your career or you got married, have kids, or you made a drastic decision, like I mentioned earlier, something so radical. And at that particular point is when you'll actually be like, well, I think we were fine the way we are apart. Silently, I think we decide. Once you have that conversation with someone, is when you get to decide. Again, it's going to be a choice at the end of the day to accept them if they change or not. That's what I think. But I think it's always worth a try. If you think it's worth a try, why not? That's the only way you know anyway.
And it doesn't kill you. It's funny how fear
Exactly.
works. You know, in that moment, you're thinking, wow, the world is ending. If I send this text, the world will end for sure. But it doesn't. If they don't reply, then you feel hurt and then you move on.
Yep.
If they reply, then you have a conversation. If you realize, oh, I really wanted to hear from them, but I don't think I want to hear from them again. Now you know.
And
Then you set yourself free, set them free, and that's it. So yeah, I do
yep.
agree. Just send that text, call that person. If they no longer care, that's fine. At least you know. And then you can free up your headspace. But also if you've grown apart from someone, it's okay. That's the nature of life. It gives room for more people to come in and have connections
Yeah.
with you. Yeah. Okay, and with that said, let us know what you think. Let us know if you've experienced growing apart with people who you grew up with and you either don't care about or you wonder, wow, what happened to that person? And let us know whether you reached out or whether you didn't and why you didn't, and if you're planning to. Until next time, see ya.
Bye bye.